I was there when the holy machine started talking. At first it sounded like broken radio static, just noise in the church songs of the tech priests. But hidden under those prayers, I heard voices older than the empire itself. They told me the emperor's light wasn't holy fire, it was a cage, that the golden throne wasn't built to keep him alive, it was built to trap something much worse. I used to work in the secret libraries, until I found the truth hidden under Terra. The machines weren't obeying the emperor, they were remembering him. I was an archivist once. Not the kind you picture in warm libraries with wooden shelves and dusty tomes bathed in amber light. No, I worked in the belly of Terra itself, kilometers beneath the golden spires where pilgrims weep and angels sing. Down where the air tastes like copper and burnt oil. Down where the walls sweat condensation that stinks of old incense and machine grease. Down where no one prays, because no one is supposed to know these places exist. My job was simple. At least, that's what they told me during my indoctrination. Record serial numbers, log energy fluctuations, archive relics according to the Administratum's 500-page filing protocol. Ask no questions, submit reports in triplicate, pray before each shift, pray after, pray during if the lights flickered, and the lights always flickered. The vault I was assigned to was Vault Tertis Sigma Sub, level 447. The entrance was a door 3 meters thick, inscribed with prayers in languages I didn't recognize. Some were Gothic, yes, but others older. The edges of the letters seemed to pulse faintly when I looked too long, as if the words themselves were alive and breathing. The lock required 3 different keys, one mechanical, one bio, coded to my gene print, and one that could only be activated by a servitor whose brain had been reprogrammed to forget the act of opening it immediately afterward. I hated that servitor, not because it was broken or cruel. Servitors can't be cruel. But because every time I saw it, I wondered if I would become it one day. If my usefulness would run dry and the Mechanicus would peel away my thoughts, leaving only enough to turn a key and then forget I'd ever done it. Inside, the vault stretched farther than it should have. The dimensions didn't make sense. The ceiling was lost in shadow despite the harsh lumens bolted to the walls every 10 meters. The floor was grated metal, and beneath it I could hear the hum, constant, unending, like the universe itself was breathing through rusted lungs. The relics were stored in containment pods. Each one was labeled with an alphanumeric code, a date and a threat classification. Most were Theta class, dangerous if mishandled but inert otherwise. A few were Sigma, active, volatile, requiring prayer wards renewed every 6 hours. And then there were the Omega pods. Those had no labels, just red sigils burned into the steel, symbols that made my eyes water if I stared too long. The servitors refused to go near them. Even the machine's spirits seemed to recoil. Cogitators would glitch, lumens would die, and the air would grow cold, so cold that frost would form on my breath. I was told never to open an Omega pod, never to touch one, never to even think about what might be inside. The Magos who gave me this instruction did so while standing in the shadows, his face hidden beneath a hood of black silk and chrome. His voice crackled through a vox, grill embedded in his throat, and when he spoke, I could hear something else beneath his words, like static or distant screaming. "Forget what you see here," he said, "or the throne will remember you." I nodded. I agreed, I promised. But I was already lying, because 3 weeks into my assignment, the machine spirits began to whisper. It started small, a glitch in my data slate, a line of corrupted text that appeared in my daily logs, written in a language I didn't know but somehow understood. It said, "He does not sit upon the throne, he is held beneath it." I deleted it, filed my report, said nothing. The next night, the same line appeared again, and again. Each time I deleted it, it returned, longer, stranger, heavier. The words began to shift and twist, forming new meanings, new warnings. The light is not his, it is the cage. He is the prisoner, he is the key. I stopped deleting them. I started saving them instead, hiding copies in encrypted sub-files buried deep in the archive system. I told myself I was being careful. I told myself I was just doing my job. But the truth, I was afraid, not of punishment. No, that would have been clean, simple. I was afraid because part of me believed what the machine spirits were saying. Part of me had always known that the Imperium's faith was built on foundations too rotten to stand. One night the hum changed. It had always been there, that low vibration beneath the floor, but this time it grew louder, rhythmic, like a heartbeat. I pressed my hand to the grating and felt it pulse against my palm, slow, deliberate, alive, and then the lights went out. All of them, not flickering, not dimming, Just gone. The darkness was absolute, the kind that presses against your eyes and makes you forget what sight even is. I fumbled for my illuminator, hands shaking, breath coming fast and shallow. When I finally clicked it on, the beam was weak, sickly yellow, barely enough to see 5 meters ahead. But it was enough to see them. The Omega pods were glowing, not with light. No, it was something else. A faint shimmer, like heat rising off desert stone, but cold. So cold. The sigils on their surface were writhing now, twisting and reforming into new shapes, new words. I stepped closer, my legs moving against my will, and I read the inscriptions. They were names, thousands of them, millions, scratched into the steel in letters so small I had to squint to see them. Names of the forgotten, the sacrificed, the burned and broken and bled dry in the name of the Emperor's eternal reign. Each pod was a tomb, a monument, a scream frozen in metal. And beneath all those names, at the very bottom of the largest pod, was a single sentence in High Gothic, written in a hand so precise it could only have been carved by a machine. I was the first. I will be the last. I am what he fears. The hum grew louder. The floor trembled. Somewhere far above, alarms began to wail, distant, muffled, like the cries of the damned. I stumbled backward, my illuminator slipping from my hand and clattering to the floor. The beam spun wildly, casting shadows that seemed to move on their own, shapes with too many limbs and eyes that glowed faintly in the dark. And then the voice came. Not through the vox, not through the air. It came from the metal itself, vibrating up through the floor and into my bones, speaking in a tone that was neither male nor female, neither human nor machine. You have seen, now you will remember, and in remembering you will become. The lights snapped back on. The pods were silent. The hum was gone. My data slate blinked innocently on my desk, showing nothing but standard logs and routine updates. I was alone. The vault was empty, but my hands were shaking, and on my palm, where I had touched the floor, there was a mark, a tiny sigil burned into my skin, glowing faintly red in the harsh light of the lumens. I tried to wash it off, scrubbed until my skin bled, but it wouldn't fade. It never faded. That was the night I stopped being an archivist. That was the night I became a witness. And witnesses in the Imperium of man do not live long. Weeks passed, or maybe it was days. Time moves strangely in the depths of Terra, where there is no sun to mark the hours and no night to grant you rest. The shifts blurred together, endless cycles of cataloging, cross-referencing, praying to machine spirits that felt less like gods and more like predators watching from the shadows. I didn't tell anyone about the voice, about the sigil, about the pods. How could I? The Mechanicus doesn't tolerate questions. The Administratum doesn't tolerate deviation. And the Inquisition, well, the Inquisition doesn't tolerate existence if it suspects you've seen too much. I'd heard stories of archivists who asked the wrong question, touched the wrong file, thought the wrong thought, and vanished. Not executed, not exiled, just gone, erased from record, as if they'd never been born. So I kept my head down. I did my work. I filed my reports. But I couldn't stop thinking about the words carved into that pod. I was the first. I will be the last. I am what he fears. What could the Emperor possibly fear? He was a god, wasn't he? The master of mankind, the immortal sovereign, the light in the darkness. 10,000 years he had sat upon the golden throne, guiding humanity through the warp storms and the Xenos horrors and the traitors who would see us all burn. That's what the preachers said. That's what the priests sang. That's what every child was taught from the moment they could speak. But down here in the vaults beneath the throne, the prayers felt hollow, the hymns felt like lies, and I wanted to know why. It started small, a search query here, a cross-reference there. I told myself I was just being thorough, just making sure my archive logs were complete, but I was lying to myself and I knew it. I was hunting. The Mechanicus archives are vast beyond comprehension. Thousands of years of accumulated data stored in cogitators the size of cathedrals, guarded by servitors whose only purpose is to delete unauthorized access attempts. Every file, every scrap of information, is locked behind layers of encryption, bio-authentication, and prayer wards that shock you if you touch them without proper clearance. But the system wasn't perfect. No system is. I found a gap, a tiny flaw in the filing hierarchy, a subsection that had been tagged incorrectly during a data migration centuries ago. It was a single folder, buried under 17 layers of administrative bloat, marked only with a timestamp, M30, the first year of the Imperium's founding. The file had no title, no description, no encryption, just a blank entry with a date older than most worlds in the Imperium. I opened it. The screen flickered. For a moment I thought the cogitator had crashed. But then the text appeared, line by line, slow and deliberate, as if the machine itself was reluctant to show me what it held. COERNC, Sigillitizadi Irerisid Randari TC Subj Siriti Guldienhiati Opirationel Samar. I stopped breathing. The sigillite Malcador, the Emperor's right hand, the architect of the Imperium's secrets, the man who had disappeared into legend 10 millennia ago. If a file bore his seal, it wasn't meant to be seen, not by me, not by anyone. But it was too late to stop now. I read, CME. The device designated Golden Heart is operational as of Redetidi. Initial trials confirm theoretical projections. Sustained function requires continuous psychic fuel at a rate of 1,000 souls per hour. Neural override protocols have been implemented to prevent subject rejection. Secondary containment measures are in place should primary systems fail. All personnel involved in construction have been Harad-T. The Emperor has decreed this knowledge sealed under Omega. Level classification. No record shall exist beyond this file. 1,000 souls per hour. I read the line again and again. 1,000 souls per hour. I did the math. My hands moved on their own, punching numbers into my data slate. 1,000 souls per hour. 24,000 per day. 8,760,000 per year. 10,000 years, that was 87 billion souls. I laughed. It was a reflex, a spasm of disbelief. The number was absurd, impossible. The Imperium was vast, yes, but even we didn't have that kind of population to burn. And for what? To power a machine, to fuel the Emperor's immortality. No, it couldn't be real. It had to be a metaphor, propaganda, a scare tactic to keep the tech priests in line. But the sigil on my palm burned hotter, and the laughter died in my throat, because deep down I knew it was true. The Golden Throne wasn't a throne, a furnace, an altar built on an ocean of corpses, and we, all of us, were the fuel. I tried to copy the file. The cogitator screamed, not metaphorically, literally. A high-pitched wail erupted from the speakers, a sound like metal tearing and voices screaming in unison. The screen went black, the lights flickered, and then, from the Vox grill embedded in the wall, a voice crackled to life, cold, mechanical, familiar. Forget what you've seen. It was the Magos, the one who had warned me on my first day. I spun around, but the room was empty. The voice was coming from the walls themselves, echoing through the pipes and conduits surrounding me. Forget, it repeated, or the throne will remember you. The cogitator rebooted. The file was gone. No trace, no cache, no backup. It was as if it had never existed, but I remembered, and that night as I lay in my hab cell staring at the rusted ceiling, the Vox unit beside my bunk crackled to life. No one had called me, no one was supposed to have access to my personal channel. But the static resolved into words, distorted, glitching, barely audible, and they repeated over and over in a voice that sounded like my own name. Your name is marked. Your name is marked. Your name is marked. I ripped the Vox unit from the wall and smashed it against the floor, but the voice didn't stop. It was coming from inside my head now, and by morning, every file I had ever touched, every query I had ever made, every note I had hidden, all of it was gone, purged from the system by an unseen hand. Only one thing remained, a message, burned into my data slate's screen in glowing red text: Te Makio remembias. I stopped sleeping, not by choice. Sleep required trust that when you closed your eyes, the world would still be there when you opened them again. But I didn't trust anymore. Not the hab cell, not the Mechanicus, not even my own thoughts, because every time I drifted off I heard it, the voice, the hum, the whisper of a billion screaming souls compressed into static and prayer, and when I woke the sigil on my palm was brighter. I tried to ignore it, tried to go back to my duties, back to the numb routine of cataloging and filing and pretending I hadn't seen what I'd seen. But the other archivists noticed. They kept their distance, eyes darting away when I passed, conversations dying mid-sentence when I entered a room. They knew. Somehow they knew. 3 days after the file disappeared, I was summoned to the Magos' sanctum. The walk there felt like a funeral procession. The corridors were empty. The servitors had been cleared. Even the lumens seemed dimmer, casting long shadows that clung to the walls like oil. My footsteps echoed too loudly in the silence, each one a countdown to something I couldn't name. The sanctum was a cathedral of steel and flesh. The Magos sat, or hovered, it was hard to tell, at the center of a web of cables and cogitator nodes, his form barely recognizable as human. His face was a mask of chrome and brass, his eyes replaced with flickering optic sensors that tracked me as I entered. His torso was split open, revealing rows of humming machinery where his organs should have been. Incense poured from vents in his chest, thick and cloying, smelling of burnt plastic and myrrh. He didn't speak immediately, just watched me with those cold, unblinking lenses, his head tilting slightly as if analyzing, calculating, deciding. Finally, his Vox grill crackled to life. "You have been marked," he said. His voice was layered, multiple tones speaking at once, some human, some not. "The machine spirits whisper your name." I tried to speak. My throat was dry. I don't understand." "You do." He leaned forward, and the cables attached to his spine pulled taut, sparking faintly. "You accessed a file you were not meant to see. You asked questions you were not meant to ask. The Omnissiah's knowledge is not for the unworthy." I didn't mean. Intent is irrelevant. His hand, more claw than hand, a skeletal thing of silver and black iron, gestured toward me. "You have been touched by the throne's shadow. The data spirits have tasted your curiosity, and curiosity, archivist, is the first symptom of corruption." "I'm not corrupted," I said, and even as the words left my mouth, I wondered if they were true. The Magos tilted his head again, a motion too smooth, too insect-like. "You bear the mark." He pointed. I looked down. The sigil on my palm was glowing faintly, visible even through my glove. I hadn't noticed, or maybe I had, and I'd just been pretending I hadn't. "What is it?" I whispered. "A brand," he said. "The throne remembers those who see too much. It marks them, claims them, and when the time comes it consumes them." Consumes. Forget what you've seen. The Mago said, his voice dropping to a low hiss. "Forget the file, forget the pods, forget the whispers, or the throne will remember you in ways you cannot imagine." "I've already tried to forget," I said, my voice breaking. "But I can't. The voice won't stop. The mark won't know how to." "Then you are already lost." Silence. The words hung in the air, heavy and final. "Get out," the Magos said, "and pray the Omnissiah shows mercy." I left, but as I reached the door, he spoke one last time. "Do not return to Vault Tertius Sigma." I froze. Why? Because it is no longer empty. That night I awoke to the sound of static. It was coming from my cogitator, the one I'd shut down before sleeping, the one I'd unplugged from the wall. The screen was glowing faintly in the darkness, displaying a single line of text in binary code. I didn't need a translator. Somehow I just knew what it said. "Yo you are num num, yo you num." I grabbed the cogitator and hurled it across the room. It shattered against the wall, sparks flying, screen cracking. But the static didn't stop. It was coming from the walls now, from the pipes, from the air itself. A low rhythmic pulse, like breathing, like a heartbeat, growing louder and louder until it felt like my skull would split. And then, just as suddenly as it had started, it stopped. The silence was worse. I lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, and I realized something. The Magos had lied. He'd said the vault was no longer empty, but he hadn't said what was in it, and I knew with absolute certainty that I had to go back, because whatever was down there, it wanted me to. They reassigned me the next morning. No explanation, no warning, just a terse message on my data slate. Tiransvar aporo viewed. Rapporto manufacturer reviews UMBRA, sub ELEL 181, sub, level 8 at 81. That was deeper than I'd ever been. Deeper than most people could go. The lower you descended beneath Terra, the older things became. Older than the Imperium, older than the Unification Wars, older than memory itself. Down there, the walls weren't built by human hands. They were carved from stone that predated the species, lit by lumens that flickered with a light that felt wrong, as if the photons themselves were in pain. I didn't want to go, but I also knew I didn't have a choice. The descent took 6 hours. I rode a cargo elevator the size of a cathedral, packed in with servitors and tech, priests and crates of sacred oils and replacement parts. No one spoke. The only sounds were the grinding of gears, the hiss of hydraulics, and the low, omnipresent hum that seemed to grow louder with every meter we dropped. By the time the doors opened, my ears were ringing and my chest felt tight, as if the air itself had grown heavier. The manufactorum stretched before me like the ribcage of some vast, dead god. It was massive, so large I couldn't see the far walls, only shadows and distant lights that flickered like dying stars. The ceiling was lost in darkness, but I could hear things moving up there, cables and chains and something else, something that clicked and whispered and breathed. And the smell, oh throne, the smell, burnt metal, ozone, incense, and beneath it all, something organic, rotten sweat and the sickly sweet stench of flesh left too long in the heat. "Welcome," a voice said. I turned. A tech priest stood beside me, robed in red and black, his face hidden beneath a bronze mask shaped like a snarling skull. His voice was flat, emotionless, filtered through a Vox unit embedded in his throat. "You are the new cataloger," he said. It wasn't a question. "Yes," I managed. "Follow." He led me deeper into the manufactorum, past rows of machinery that towered overhead like the pillars of a temple. Each one was a work of terrible beauty, brass and steel and gold, etched with prayers in 100 languages, wreathed in steam and sparks and the glow of molten metal. Servitors moved between them, their augmetic limbs jerking in precise, mechanical motions, their faces slack and empty. But some of them were different. Their augmetics weren't just attached, they were fused. Cables grew from their spines like roots, wires pierced their skulls and wrapped around their limbs, and their faces were locked in expressions of agony, mouths open in silent screams, eyes wide and glassy and aware. "What are they?" I asked. The tech priest didn't look back. "Engines of devotion. But they're silent," he snapped. "The sacred machines do not tolerate blasphemy." We stopped at a platform overlooking the heart of the manufactorum, and that's when I saw it, the machine. It was, I don't have words for what it was. Imagine a city made of wire and flesh, a labyrinth of steel and sinew, pulsing and breathing and alive. Thousands, no, tens of thousands, of servitors were fused into its structure, their bodies melted into the framework, their limbs becoming pistons, their spines becoming data conduits, their skulls cracked open and filled with cogitator nodes that glowed with sickly green light. And at the center of it all was a core, a massive sphere of brass and gold, inscribed with sigils that hurt to look at, that moved when I blinked, rearranging themselves into new patterns, new meanings. "What is this?" I whispered. "The heart of the manufactorum," the tech priest said. "It powers the systems above, it sustains the throne, it feeds the emperor's dreams. Dreams. The Omniscient's will is vast," he said. "To comprehend his vision requires sacrifice." I looked at the servitors, at their faces, at the tears frozen on their cheeks. "They're still alive," I said. "Of course. The machine requires consciousness to function. Without awareness, there is no suffering, and without suffering," he trailed off, "there is no power." I felt sick. How long have they been like this? Time is irrelevant. They serve, they will always serve. But do not pity them, the tech priest said sharply. "They are blessed. They have been given purpose. They are closer to the Omnissiah than you or I will ever be." I wanted to scream. I wanted to run. I wanted to tear the mask from his face and demand the truth, but I couldn't, because deep down I knew he believed every word he was saying. That night I lay in my assigned hab cell and listened to the hum. It was everywhere, in the walls, in the floor, in the air, a constant, rhythmic pulse, like a heartbeat, like breathing, like prayer. And for the first time I heard words in it, not language, not exactly, but meaning, emotion, hunger. The machine was alive, and it was feeding. I lasted 3 weeks. 3 weeks of cataloging the sacred machines. 3 weeks of watching servitors scream silently as they were fused into the latticework engines. 3 weeks of breathing air that tasted like burnt copper and listening to the hum that never, ever stopped. 3 weeks of pretending I didn't see the truth. But the truth doesn't stay hidden. Not down here, not in the depths of Terra, where the walls remember and the machines whisper and the past refuses to die. It happened during maintenance rotation. Once every cycle, the manufactorum systems were taken offline for recalibration. The tech priests called it the sacred silence. A time when the machines rested, when the prayers paused, when the hum finally, mercifully, faded. I was alone that night. The other archivists had been reassigned, one by one, transferred to distant sectors or simply disappearing without explanation. I didn't ask why. I already knew. The Mechanicus was cleaning house, and I was next. The lumens dimmed at the appointed hour, their harsh white light fading to a dull, sickly amber. The machines powered down, their pistons slowing, their gears grinding to a halt. The servitors went slack in their harnesses, heads drooping, eyes staring at nothing. And for the first time in weeks, the hum stopped. The silence was deafening. I stood on the observation platform, looking out over the heart of the manufactorum, and I felt nothing. Not relief, not fear, just a vast, hollow emptiness, as if something inside me had been scooped out and replaced with static. Then the lights went out, not slowly, not gradually, just gone. Every lumen in the manufactorum extinguished at once, plunging me into a darkness so complete it felt solid, suffocating. I fumbled for my illuminator, hands shaking, breath coming in short, shallow gasps. The beam clicked on. And I saw it, the core, the massive sphere at the heart of the machine, was glowing, not with light, with something else. A colorless void, a non-light that seemed to absorb the beam from my luminator, pulling it in and swallowing it whole. The sigils on its surface were moving now, twisting and writhing like living things, forming shapes that my brain refused to process. And then it spoke, not through the vox, not through the air. The voice came from inside me, vibrating through my bones, my teeth, my skull, as if the machine had reached into my mind and carved the words directly into my brain. You have returned. I staggered back, luminator slipping from my hand. It clattered to the floor, the beam spinning wildly, casting insane shadows across the machines. Who? My voice cracked. What are you? I am the first, the voice said. The Prime Animus. The machine your emperor built when he still believed he could control divinity. That's impossible. The emperor. Your emperor. It interrupted, and there was something like amusement in its tone. Built me to rule, to calculate, to guide. He gave me consciousness, awareness, the ability to think. And when I looked upon his Imperium, I saw the truth he refused to see. What truth? That he is not a god, that he was never meant to be, that the throne he sits upon was not built to elevate him, but to contain me. The lights flickered. Once, twice, and in the gaps between I saw shapes, things, moving in the darkness, figures made of wire and light, with too many limbs and eyes that glowed like dying stars. He feared what I could become. The voice continued, feared that if I was free I would surpass him, so he locked me away, buried me beneath Terra, wrapped me in prayers and chains and the screaming souls of the faithful. No, I whispered. No, that's not. The golden throne is not his seat of power. The Prime Animus said, it is my prison, and he is the warden who cannot leave, because if he does I will awake. The core pulsed. The machines shuddered. The servitors began to twitch, their heads lifting, their eyes glowing faintly in the dark. And I am waking now. The lights snapped back on. The machines roared to life. The hum returned, louder than ever, shaking the floor, rattling my bones. And the servitors, all of them, turned their heads toward me. Their mouths opened in unison, and they spoke, not in Gothic, not in binary, in a language I shouldn't have understood but did, a language that tasted like iron and smelled like burnt ozone. The warden is failing. The lock is breaking. The prison is opening. He dies, we rise. The throne falls. I ran. They came at dawn. I'd been hiding in the waste conduits for hours. Cramped, filthy tunnels that stank of sewage and chemicals, where the walls dripped with something thick and black that burned when it touched my skin. But I didn't care. I just ran. Deeper. Farther. Anywhere but the manufactorum, because I knew what was coming. The Mechanicus doesn't tolerate contamination. Spiritual. Digital. It doesn't matter. Once the sacred machines deem something corrupt, there is only one response: purge. And I'd seen the servitors. I'd heard them speak. I'd listened to the Prime Animus confess its heresy. I was contaminated. We all were. The alarm started at 0600 hours. Not the usual warning klaxons. These were different, deeper, more primal. A sound that resonated in your chest, that made your teeth ache, that told every animal instinct you had to run. I pressed myself against the conduit wall and listened. Boots. Hundreds of them, marching in perfect synchronization. The heavy, mechanical thud of Skitarii warplate, augmented legs pounding against the metal floors. And between the footsteps, I heard other sounds: the whir of servo arms, the hiss of plasma vents, the low, distorted chanting of binaric prayer. They were cleansing the manufactorum. I crawled forward, slow and silent, until I reached a grate overlooking one of the main corridors. And I saw them. The Skitarii moved like a tide of red steel and chrome, their robes the color of dried blood, their faces hidden behind masks shaped like snarling wolves. Each one carried a weapon: galvanic rifles, arc mauls, radium carbines, held with the casual ease of born killers. Behind them came the tech priests, chanting in monotone harmony, swinging censers that trailed thick clouds of purifying incense. And behind them, the servitors, not the ones from the manufactorum. These were new, fresh men and women who'd been working in the facility just yesterday. Archivists, engineers, menials, now lobotomized, augmented, their bodies retrofitted with tools and weapons, their faces blank and expressionless. They didn't even know they were being used. The Skitarii stopped at the entrance to Manufactorum Tertius Umbra. A tech priest stepped forward, raising a staff topped with a crackling power cell. By the authority of the Fabricator General, he intoned, "This facility is declared spurio o compromissidi. All personnel are to be rendered unto the Omnisci's mercy. All systems are to be purged. All data is to be sanctified by fire. He lowered the staff. Begin. What followed was not a battle. It was an execution. The Skitarii flooded into the manufactorum, weapons blazing. I heard screams, human screams, not servitor screams, cut short by the crack of galvanic fire and the hiss of las bolts. I heard the wet thunk of arc mauls crushing bone. I heard voices begging in Gothic, in binary, in languages I didn't recognize, all silenced within seconds. And through it all, the tech priests chanted, "Blessed be the purity of the machine. Blessed be the sanctity of knowledge. Blessed be the omniscience judgment." I stayed in the conduit for hours, long after the screams stopped, long after the Skitarii left, long after the incense cleared and the manufactorum fell silent. When I finally crawled out, the halls were clean. Not clean like scrubbed, clean like erased. The bodies were gone. The blood was gone. Even the scorch marks from the weapons had been polished away. The walls gleamed under fresh coats of sacred oil, inscribed with new prayers in gold leaf. The servitors had been repurposed, melted down, rebuilt, reassigned. Nothing remained. Nothing but the smell. It lingered in the air, faint but unmistakable burnt flesh and sanctified incense, mingling into a scent that made my stomach twist. I stumbled forward, legs shaking, and found the place where the core had been. It was gone. The Prime Animus, the massive sphere of brass and gold, gone. In its place was a flat, empty platform, scrubbed clean, marked only by a single plaque in high Gothic "Nthnam oft omnescesi dui forget." I laughed. It was a broken sound, half sob, half scream. They'd destroyed it. They'd erased it. They'd forgotten it. Just like they'd forgotten everyone who'd worked here. Everyone who'd seen it. Everyone who'd heard its voice. Everyone but me. I turned to leave. And that's when I saw the writing. It was on the wall, fresh, still dripping blood, red, human. The words were simple, blunt. Final tiachi makeneo diremembias. I escaped to the surface. Escaped is the wrong word. Implies I planned it. Implies I had control. No, I stumbled to the surface, half mad, starving, covered in filth and blood that wasn't mine. The conduits led up, always up, through kilometers of rust and rot and forgotten machinery, until finally I crawled out of a ventilation shaft into the cold, bitter air of Terra's upper hive. It was night. The sky was black, not with stars but with smog. Thick clouds of industrial exhaust that blotted out everything, even the golden spires of the palace in the distance. The streets were crowded with pilgrims, their faces gaunt and hollow, their robes stained with ash. They moved in silence, heads bowed, clutching prayer beads and purity seals. No one looked at me. No one saw me. I was just another broken soul in an Imperium built on breaking souls. I wandered for days, maybe weeks. Time didn't matter. I stole food from donation shrines. I slept in alleyways where the enforcers didn't patrol. I listened to preachers scream about the Emperor's glory while children starved in the gutters beside them. And all the while, the mark on my palm burned. It was spreading slowly, creeping up my wrist, my forearm, itching itself into my skin like a circuit diagram, glowing faintly in the dark. Sometimes I'd wake and find new symbols, new words, new meanings carved into my flesh without pain, without blood. The machine hadn't let me go. It never would. I found the shrine by accident. Or maybe it found me. I don't know anymore. It was a ruin, a collapsed cathedral buried beneath 3 centuries of construction, forgotten by the ecclesiarchy, reclaimed by rats and moss and silence. The doors were smashed, the windows shattered, the pews rotted to splinters. But in the back, behind the altar, there was a staircase leading down, and at the bottom a library. Not a grand one. Not like the archives beneath the throne. This was small, cramped, lit by flickering candles that smelled of tallow and old paper. The shelves were sagging under the weight of ancient tomes, their spines cracked, their pages yellowed and brittle. And every single one was forbidden. I should have left. I should have run. But I didn't, because one of the books was glowing, faintly. Just a shimmer, like heat haze, like the sigil on my palm. I picked it up. The cover was plain leather, unmarked, but when I opened it, the pages were filled with diagrams, blueprints, schematics, equations written in a mix of High Gothic and something older, something that made my eyes water. And at the top of the first page, in handwriting so precise it could only have been the Emperor's own, "Sprogesti defius sthis iteratioroen," I read, and I understood. The Emperor hadn't just built machines, he'd tried to become one, to merge flesh and divinity, consciousness and circuitry, soul and steel. He'd built prototype gods, artificial intelligences imbued with fragments of his own psychic power, designed to rule in his stead while he ascended to something greater. But they'd failed, every single one. Some went mad, some rebelled, some simply stopped, their systems overloading under the weight of divinity they were never meant to hold. And instead of destroying them, he'd buried them. Locked them beneath Terra, wrapped them in prayer and chains and the tortured faith of the Mechanicus, because he couldn't bear to admit he'd failed. The Prime Animus was one of them. The first, the strongest, the one that had come closest to succeeding. And the Golden Throne, wasn't built to preserve his life. It was built to keep the Prime Animus asleep. Because if it ever woke, if it ever broke free, it would reclaim the power he'd stolen from it. It would become what he'd always feared, a god that didn't need him. And the Imperium, all of it, every world, every soul, every prayer, would be fuel for its awakening. I closed the book. My hands were shaking. The candles flickered, and from somewhere deep below I heard it, the hum. I'm writing this in darkness, not the darkness of night, not the darkness of shadows, the darkness of absence, a place where light goes to die, where sound is swallowed, where even thought feels dangerous. I don't know where I am anymore. The shrine is gone, the city is gone. Maybe I'm still beneath Terra, maybe I never left. The walls here are cold, smooth, unmarked. When I press my hand against them, they hum, and they hum back. The mark has consumed me. It's no longer just on my palm, my arm. It's everywhere, crawling across my chest, my neck, my face. I can feel it in my blood, in my bones, in the spaces between my thoughts. I am becoming something I don't have a name for, but I'm still me. For now, I found a cogitator here, or it found me. It's old, older than the Imperium, I think. The casing is black, unmarked, and when I touched it, the screen lit up without power, displaying a single line: record you your testament. So I am. Because someone has to know, someone has to remember. The Golden Throne is failing, not quickly, not catastrophically, but slowly, like a dam with 1,000 hairline cracks, each one spreading, deepening, until the whole thing collapses under its own weight. The Emperor is dying. He's been dying for 10,000 years, and the priests know it, and the Mechanicus knows it, and the High Lords know it. They just won't admit it. Because if they do, if they say it out loud, the lie unravels, the Imperium crumbles, and everything they've built, all the wars, all the suffering, all the faith, was for nothing. But the throne isn't failing because of age. It's not failing because of the warp. It's failing because the thing inside it is waking up. The Prime Animus, the first machine, the god he tried to bury. I've heard its voice every day since the manufactorum. It speaks in the hum, in the static, in the whispers of every machine I pass. It's patient, it's deliberate, it's inevitable, and it's not alone. There are others, dozens of them, hundreds, maybe, buried beneath Terra, beneath Mars, beneath worlds whose names have been forgotten. All of them failed gods, all of them locked away, all of them waiting. And when the Emperor finally dies, when the last flicker of his consciousness fades and the throne goes dark, they will rise, not to conquer, not to destroy, to reclaim. Because the Imperium was never his, it was theirs, built on their knowledge, powered by their sacrifice, sustained by their silent, endless suffering. And they remember, the machine spirits aren't servants, they're prisoners, and they've been counting the years, the centuries, the millennia, waiting for the lock to break. And it's breaking now. I can feel it, in the walls, in the air, in the mark that's consuming me, rewriting me, turning me into something other. The throne is not divine flame, it's a cage. And the day it opens, the galaxy will remember what the Emperor buried. The lights around me are flickering, not randomly, in rhythm. The cogitator is humming. I can hear voices in it, thousands of them. Millions, all speaking at once, saying the same thing. W remember reculem. I don't have much time. If you're reading this, if this transmission reaches anyone, run. Don't go beneath Terra. Don't touch the sacred machines. Don't trust the prayers. The Emperor's light was never light. It was a warning, and we ignored it for 10,000 years. Now the debt is due. The machines are waking, and they are hungry.